we have the Elementary Green Club along with their advisors, Ms. LeGroy and Mrs. Miller. Richmond Middle School Green Club along with their advisor, Mrs. Clausen. And the Richmond High School Green Club along with their advisor, Mr. Train, to lead the Board of Education and Pledge of Allegiance. You guys want to come on up? Green Club. Got a nice group tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with the elementary school. If you want to turn around and wave to the audience when I say your name, thank you. We have Kayla Bryan,
You got it.
Trenton Coleman, Ethan Moore, Sophia Jackson, Ethan Berman, here, Avery Gross, Kaden Christensen, Madeline Nesta, Abigail Levesque, Evie Barron, Justin Pendry, and Katie DeVode. Thank you for being here tonight. For the middle school, we have Mrs. LaGoria as their advisor as well, and Mrs. Miller. For the middle school, there is Piper Clark,
There's one more that arrived.
Samantha McCarty, and their advisor, Jamie Clausen. And then for the high school, we have Ethan Wyatt,
And then we have a couple more that showed up. We got Emily Tacker,
Emily Tackberry,
Emma Murphy,
Emma Murphy,
Maddie Rio,
Maddie Rio,
and Robert Hill.
Robert L.
Halligan.
Okay.
Halligan.
Halligan, thank you. And their advisor, Mr. Treen. All right, when you guys are ready, we'll turn around and face the flag. All right, next we have our mission statement.
At Richmond Community Schools, we provide a quality education that empowers students to be successful in a global community.
All right, roll call, Angela.
Chris? Here. Sarah's absent with notice. Jessica?
Here.
Kyle?
Here.
Margaret? Here. Sherry?
Here.
And I am present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, next up is the approval of the agenda. Looking for a motion?
I motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Support.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll just say motion. Motion passes. All right, next up, we have our True Bloom Moments. This is a portion of our agenda as a time to recognize and celebrate the wonderful things happening in Richmond Community Schools. Here tonight for our True Bloom Moment, we have the Elementary Green Club along with their advisors, Mrs. LaGroy and Miss Miller. The Richmond Middle School Green Club with their advisor, Mrs. Clausen, Mrs. Gillespie, and the Richmond High School Green Club with their advisor, Mr. Train. You guys want to come on up?
Jessica. His name is Trent.
Trent, Mr. Trent, sorry.
Good afternoon. As you can see, we have a great group of kids. We have second, third, and fourth graders, and this is only about half of them. We have a total of 34 that meet once a month with us, and sometimes a little bit more because we've been collecting caps, plastic caps. and in hopes to make a bench out of our plastic caps. So when Mrs. LeGroy and I presented it to the kids, they were all gung-ho, and we said, if you get to the 250-pound mark with caps, the two of us would pay to have it a blue color. Never thinking we'd get to 250 pounds of caps. We now are at 500 pounds of blue caps, so we will be getting 2 benches for the elite schools. And they're all in trash bags in my sunroom right now. So it's a good thing it's been cold, so we couldn't sit out in the sunroom. But anyways, they'll be going sometime this summer down to Evansville, Indiana. Mrs. LeGroy and I are going to take a girls trip with our garbage bags and caps. So anyways, we're going to get 2 benches, so we're pretty excited about that. We do have quite a few kids who don't want to talk tonight, but I think there's one, right? Evie, you want to come? Come.
I had a lot of fun in Green Club, and I think it's a great experience for kids to have and make sure that our school is safe and our environment is safe.
You want to tell them about the field trip we took?
Our field trip that we took was really fun. We went to the landfill and we learned how they store their garbage and how bad waste is to the environment. And a representative came from Seven Ponds Nature Center and told us all about soils and the different animals that they have there.
All right, if nobody wants to talk about waste-free lunch? You want to? Okay, come on. Tell them about the waste-free lunch.
Waste-free lunch is where you bring only like Tupperware and no like stuff that you can throw away.
And what did we have to do? We had to weigh our trash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And what happened this year, though?
Some people didn't do it.
Right. And so it was a learning experience for us because, see, we weigh our trash on 2 Fridays. The first Friday, we weigh it when nobody knows we're doing waste-free lunch and it has all their, junk and stuff. And then the next Friday, we advertise all week long that we're having waste-free lunch, so bring your Tupperware and your thermos bottles. So the next Friday, we weigh it again. We were over. So we didn't really reduce our trash this year. So it's a little bit of a learning experience, but it's okay, and we'll work on it next year, right, Ethan? Yeah. Okay, anybody else?
Well, I would like to just say that I have loved working with this group. Some of them are with us for their 2nd year. It has been great. We mentioned the trip that we did, some of them called the dump, to Pine Trees Acres Landfill over on 29 Mile Road, and it was very informational. Kathy Klein does a great job of presenting it at a level that they could understand. The Blue Water Conservation Office came out this year and did a thing on watersheds and water pollution, and the kids had fun trying to figure out how they were going to get all of that garbage out of the water. They couldn't do it. And the bench program, I think that's it. That's it for us. Jean?
So this year, we actually the middle school had the opportunity to partnership with the high school. So I'm like the land and he's like the water with our green and blue. So we're doing like the big brother, big sister program. So we share like our ideas and things like that. Just because the high school and middle school, it seems like it's an easier collaboration just because of like the hours and the clubs that we offer at both facilities. We're going to start our presentation with 5 fun facts. So Preston's going to hand out 5 objects that can be recycled. So what we're asking you to do is, as I read an informational fact, I would just like you to visually choose one of the objects to see how good you are at recycling. So, your knowledge. And we actually had the opportunity to do this this November. It was November 15th. I Love America, or America Recycles Day, I should say. And what we did in the cafeteria is we had volunteers from the National Junior Honor Society set up a table, and we asked the students if they wanted to come up, they could try to match up the interesting facts with the recycled objects, and if they scored a perfect, like 5 out of 5, then they were able to receive like a prize that we had, like, we reused or repurposed some prizes at the middle school. Like we had a couple extra water bottles, we had a couple extra bracelets from years past, so we were like a couple extra t-shirts, things like that, to kind of encourage the kids into recycling. Okay, so the first fun fact, if recycled, I can become part of a kitchen countertop. So again, just visually answer. And the answer is glass bottle. To see how you did yourself. The second one is recycling one of me saves enough energy to run your TV for 4 hours. Answer is 1 aluminum can. The next fact is if Americans had recycled all of me in 2011, we could have given new life to enough of my kind to cover 42,000 soccer fields 3 feet deep. And the answer is paper. Fact 4, creating me from recycled materials saves about 67% of the energy needed to produce me from raw material. And the answer is steel can. The last fact, which may be by process of elimination at this point, would be Americans recycled enough of me in 2011 to provide the raw material needed to produce 7 million extra large t-shirts. And the answer is plastic bottle. So again, that's yours that you can recycle. But we just want, like we did this and the kids really did like it. The kids were actually waiting in line to participate in the game. So I think it's something that we're going to continue at the middle school and again share with the high school because it was successful. I'm going to take a few minutes just to share some of the happenings going on at the middle school, and then I'll hand over the mic to the high school. So Piper, can you hand out your paper? On one side, you see almost like a brochure type item. It goes over like a week at the middle school, a year at the middle school, and currently today, with it being Earth Day, we kind of kicked off our Earth Week. And this is completely recyclable too. On the back, you'll see snapshots, which we'll get to in a minute too. So at the middle school, we have a Green Week, and what that looks like is Monday, it's called Make a Difference. We ask students to recycle something, hopefully a piece of paper, because it seems like there's always a piece of paper here or there. Tuesdays, turn off your screens to try to reduce their screen time. Wednesday, waste-free lunch. We try to focus on reusable water bottles, reusable containers, so cut down like on Ziploc bags, brown bag lunches. Thursday is to think green. We're hoping that they top off their green baskets, which I'll explain a little bit about to ending my presentation today. Because actually every Friday we have National Junior Honor Society students that are making up our green team this year. We have a total, I think, of 12 students, so we have like 3 shifts of students that come around on Fridays. But they rotate weeks. So we only have like 4 that participate like 7th hour Friday. And what they do is they pick up or empty out our green baskets and take them to our steel bin in the back of the parking lot. And on Friday we have Save Energy. So we ask, like, if you have 2 switches in your classroom, maybe you could flip off one of them. Or if there's any unnecessary lights, if you could just turn those off and use, I know it's been kind of a tough week or 2 here with the rain, but use some of our natural sunlight too. Annually, our MS activities, sometimes they run for a short time and sometimes they run year long. In September this year, we offered the option of coming up with a logo for the middle school. You'll see that on the back too, like the snapshot. The winning logo contest winner, we actually made a color copy of his logo, and we were able to put it on all of our energy saving posters in all the classrooms, all the rooms, all the offices of the middle school. In October, this is our 2nd annual recycled book fair. We take in a collection of paperback and hardcover books. We sell the paperback books for $0.25. We sell the hardcover books for 50 cents during conference time. So maybe students that necessarily couldn't build a library themselves could actually come and start quite a nice collection. We've had like almost brand new books collected. Then we try to donate them to like a nearby hospital or doctor's office. Then in November we did the American Recycles Day, which is like the 5 fun facts that we kind of did together. In December, or like around December, our 5th graders made Explorers out of recycled 2-liter bottles. There's like a snapshot on that on back also. in January, we have so many, it seems like at times, book orders that just like the kids aren't taking them, or we just have an over excessive amount of them. So what our art teacher did, who's here, is she did recycled art, Miss Shannon. She made bowls and vases out of like the book orders, had the kids like wind them tight and glue them, so the kids had a lot of fun with that. February, collection of ink cartridges. This kind of runs throughout the school year, to be honest with you. There's a visual on the back too in the snapshot. March, collection of shoes and clothes. This is what we did with Planet Aid. We were able to get a metal bin on campus last year, and we continue to work with Planet Aid for shoes and clothing. Occasionally we'll put in our announcements and our news, just like a reminder, clean out your closets. This is a good time, like going into Christmas break or spring, just that metal bin is there. As far as for April, campus clean out / Earth Week. So if you look over to the right, like the more colorful side there, so today we encourage everybody to wear green, tomorrow blue, Wednesday is yellow for sun, Thursday animal print, and Friday, like wear a shirt from your favorite outdoor place. Right now we're in the middle of testing, so it's kind of like, we don't want to call it Spirit Week because we don't want like any necklaces or face painting or anything like that. So it's like a silent way to show your support of Earth Week. The campus clean out, what we do is we ask the science teachers to take their classes out for like 10 to 15 minutes, one day this week. We provide gloves to the students, and we go over a reminder too, like don't touch anything sharp, anything like you're unsure of. Then we ask them to bring in like a Kroger or Walmart, like recycle a bag for the trash. We actually had teachers, again, Miss Shannon donated some bags, Miss Monica donated bags, so that we can use those for our campus cleanup too. May, we have where the 5th and 6th graders visit internet sites to learn about endangered environments. And then obviously June, ending the year, is where we encourage like a locker clean out too. And we usually get like garbage cans full of things. So if you flip it over too, that's where you have a few visuals of just different things. The top left corner is actually the poster and the logo that you see presented in every room of the building. The bottom left-hand corner is the ink cartridges. We actually recycle those, and the place that we collect those is in our teacher lounge. The top center picture is a picture of our recycled book fair, and that's only one of like the 2 large tables that we have during conferences. Over to the right, you see the recycled 2-liter bottles turned into Explorers. And at the bottom, that's the yellow bin that anybody in the audience can visit to, the Planet Aid, to donate clothing and shoes all throughout the year, all throughout the summer. And then in the middle, the green bins. The green plastic bins, they cost, I think, $1. We had funding last year from our Green Club, and what we did, this is like our first step, our first small step in becoming a green school. And I'm happy to say that the middle school this year went from green to emerald, so we're at the 2nd level of green this year. So a big round of applause to our staff and our students because they did so what I personally did is I went out and purchased the school board a green basket, so maybe you could start too. I'm sure everybody already recycles, but just as a visual so that you can be part of our team. And I'll hand it over to Preston. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I gotta admit before I start that a lot of the things I talk about that we did this year, I got from Jamie. She was awesome getting us started. This was our first year at the high school having a green club, and I tried to see what year it was on the banner, but it doesn't have years, so it's been a while. And the big thing here at the high school was we got kids that get pulled in so many different directions between sports and arts and theater and music and jobs and whatnot, including a couple of my members here who came right from practice or was able to go home and eat after practice. But these kids get pulled in so many different directions. And our big thing was, hey, let's get a club that the kids actually want to be a part of, want to get going on this stuff and feel passionate about leaving a smaller imprint on our planet. So our goal this year was start with a bunch of small projects just to get that green school mindset, the green club name out there. So it was a lot of little things like setting up recycling bins in each classroom, because we talked about how, like, why don't you recycle things? Like, why aren't we recycling everything? And they're like, well, it's too hard. Like, it takes more effort. And we're like, well, let's make it a little easier for everybody. So every classroom has a recycling bin next to the garbage can was a big thing for us. And then we went further and we said, all right, well, where else can we improve? And we're like, how many times do you make copies and they're wrong and you have to redo them? So let's put a bin right there by the copy machine so that we can recycle all that paper. So we got all that done. Then I picking Jamie's brain about stuff. We're talking about energy saving here at the high school. How can we save energy with lights and computers? So a couple of the girls designed a little piece of paper with make sure we turn our lights out, make sure you turn your computer off for breaks. And we put those in every classroom. The kids were awesome because a lot of these were just, I said, hey, we need this done. Who wants to do it? You. Cool. Let's get it done during lunch. Let's get it done after school. And they were great with it. We coordinated with other groups on different projects and bouncing ideas off. We did a couple campus cleanups with Interact and just different days. We talked with the science classes about what lessons do they do about saving the environment, sustainability, and what else can we do with those lessons. And then we talked to the middle school Green Club, like, what are you guys doing? And kind of bouncing some ideas off there to hopefully grow what we're doing. And in between these projects, we'd meet and we'd brainstorm bigger projects or create things. What do you guys want? I'd ask them all the time, like, what do you guys want this Green Club to be? What do you want our mark we leave on the school to be? So we've been talking about some of those bigger projects, getting out to the nature trail, doing some different things out there. We're actually, because it was Easter Sunday, I was like, we probably can't do a cleanup on Easter. So we'll just push it to next Saturday, and we'll call that our Earth Day cleanup. So if anybody wants to join us, actually, we'll be out around 10 o'clock Saturday out at the nature trail doing some cleanup and kind of making sure that looks nice and it's nice for everybody in the community to enjoy. And then we can be out there and kind of brainstorm the different ideas of other things we want to go from there with. So we were happy this year we achieved green school status here at the high school. And we're hoping that with these new projects next year we can catch the middle school up there at emerald status. So thank you.
We've got it.
Mrs. Miller, I hate to put you on the spot, but can you give us an update of how the elementary school did on their status this year?
We're emerald. We went up and we were just green last year, which was really good for us for our first year. And now we're emerald. And we also got the most improved green club for Macomb County.
All right, our next True Blue moment is for the art program. And we had the Will Alley Elementary School, the middle school, and the high school with instructors Miss Bernice Hanella from the elementary school, Miss Rain Shannon from the middle school, and Leah, I'm sorry if I mess up your last name, is it Koniak? Kaganak from the high school.
Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about some of our awards that we have received this year. We had really great participation, and we participated in more competitions this year, pushing a little more heavily on that, helping us earn scholarships. So first off, I wanted to discuss Scholastics and Anton. So out of 2,432 individual submissions and 71 portfolios, only 549 individual submissions and 23 portfolios were selected from the Michigan Thumb region. Richmond High School placed 8th out of 39 schools for most accepted individual submissions in a region. There were 30 students that had competed and 12 were recognized for their accomplishments. So we had 22 pieces accepted overall, and 2 students had received an additional 9 awards through an after-school art program at the Doro Academy. We received 3 gold keys, 9 silver keys, and 10 honorable mentions. And for Anton Center, this year we got 17 pieces into Anton, and we received 3 awards. I'm going to mention some of my students, and if I call your name, if you could come up here so I could talk about you. Okay, so one of my artists this year did very well, Sydney Christensen. Okay, Sydney had received, so Sydney received 11 Scholastic Awards, and she is also a silver medalist nationally. She received the CCS and Art Block Scholarship. She got into the U of M Summer Portfolio Program. She has 2 pieces that got into the Birmingham Bloomfield show, and she's waiting to hear the results on that. She also got into the Wayne Tri-County show, which received a $1,000 scholarship. Only 70 pieces were chosen to be in the show for Wayne, Macomb, and Oakland County, so that's a big one. She was also published in June's New York Times for her editorial cartoon. And only she was one of 5 students that received the CCS for Best Editorial category. So she also designed the cover of the yearbook. She was one of the designs for in Richmond. 3 honorable mentions in Anton. Is that it? Okay, so yeah, there's a long list. Okay, so my next artist we have is Kyler Luna. Okay, Kyler Luna received a $1,500 scholarship for the U of M Summer Portfolio Program. So Sydney and Kyler will both be in that program this summer. She received a silver key and an honorable mention in Scholastics, and she also got a piece in Anton this year. The U of M, yep, I did mention the U of M stamps. Yeah, okay. And then we have Ethan Wyatt. Okay, so Ethan got 1 piece into the Anton Center show this year. He also designed and spray painted the football field this year for homecoming with the help of Kat Wilkie. Is that all my artists here tonight? Okay. So some of my other artists that could not be here but did receive awards or acknowledgement in Anton or Scholastics were Libby Bergeon, Macy Myers, Carissa Stewart, Elijah Wader, Caleb Blevins, Alexis Henry, Tristan Riggs, Cody Tomlinson, Maddie Rigoli, Alexis Render, Shannon Hulk, Katarina Wilkie, and Morgan DeKaiser. Okay, and then I'm going to introduce Ms. Serene Shannon from the middle school.
I'm here to brag about the middle school artists. I'm not sure if any of them are here. If you are, come up. So the Scholastics, we got 7 pieces accepted, 5 students work, and they received 4 awards. It was Olivia McIntyre, Haley Cleric, Priscilla Rutledge, Emma Peters, and Natalie Collins. Emma, Natalie, and Olivia won silver keys, and Priscilla won a gold key for her work. Only Scholastics changed their criteria this year, so used to, as long as you were in 7th grade, you could enter, but now you have to be 13, so that cut out like a lot of 7th graders, because I'm sure we would have had more pieces accepted, because at the Anton show we got 21 pieces accepted, which is really good for being kind of a small school. That was from 17 students, and they won 3 awards. So it was Marissa Germain, Olivia McIntyre, Priscilla Rutledge, David Garcia, Peyton Campbell, Alexander Grant, Casey Malberg, Emma Peters, Esther LaPiccolo, Haley Cleric, Madison Ball, Aiden Kowalski, Danilo Pace, Evan Blanca, Caden Gribby, Kelsey Pendry, and Lola Krishinsko. And Lola won a second place award for 7th grade, and Danilo Pace and Casey Mulberg won honorary mentions. Denise is the elementary school teacher.
Hello, I'm Bernice Hidella. I'm currently the substitute art teacher at the elementary school. And this being my first year with Richmond, I haven't yet had an opportunity to participate in the Anton show. The elementary shows every other year at Anton. And so this being the off year, next year the elementary school will have the opportunity to show at Anton. However, what the students were able to show in were 2 district shows and the enrichment show. I was able to submit 70 pieces to the first district show, and I have 80, I believe, hanging right now in the current district show. And I was able to solicit over 80 donations from the students for their student work for the enrichment fundraiser. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Which brings me to remind everybody to check out the spring art show that is in the Odd area. You'll see artworks from all grade levels in the showcases and along the boards in the Odd. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next True Blue moment is for the European tour with their advisor, Mrs. Amy Smolin.
There's some pictures to project up there. Good evening. My name is Amy Smallwood. I'm a high school Spanish teacher and English teacher. This past spring break, I took a group of 32 to Europe. This is my 6th tour overseas with students from Richmond High School, and one of the most memorable. We saw 9 different places in 10 days. So let me just say that we were up early, down late, and it was non-stop. I will say I was most exhausted from this trip than any other I've taken in the past, but well worth it because of all that we saw and did in this time frame. I have some student with me tonight. Kyler Luna was with me on the tour, and I invited my chaperones, Teresa Ranger and Brian Rubin, to present with me this evening because high school students are very busy, and I couldn't get many to show this evening due to their commitments. So I wanted to share with you some highlights of our trip, and please feel free to ask questions, and if you have any comments you want to make, I welcome them. So this was our tour guide, Luca, and Luca was amazing. He speaks 3 languages very well. His primary language is Italian, but he speaks fluent Spanish and French. And on this tour, I picked up a bit of new languages as well, some French and Italian. In Barcelona is his home base. That's where he currently lives, and he does tours with students throughout the season in the spring. Great man. He did a lot for us, and we really relied on him heavily. So day 1 was travel to Barcelona, and there we are in front of one of the highlighted buildings in the city. For some of the people of Barcelona, it's an eyesore. For others, it's appreciated. But I will say in the evening, it's beautiful because as you can see, it's lit up. On one of our second day in Barcelona, this is Parc Güell, which is a architectural beauty made by Antonio Gaudí, who is an Italian architect. And much of his work is in the city of Barcelona. The Sagrada Familia, the Holy Family Cathedral, Parc Güell. We had a tour led by this gentleman pictured, Julio. Great tour guide, very informative. I think the kids enjoyed him. Another highlight is us in France. We were in Nîmes. We were in Pont du Gard, which is the Pont du Gard. Pont is French for bridge, I believe. And in this particular area of the country, it's a standing bridge that is also acts as an aqueduct. And we were able to stroll around there for a good hour or so and have a light lunch and, of course, lots of picture opportunities. But our tour guide, Luca, he took these pictures for us on a daily basis, and parents could see what was going on our trip as we were overseas. There we are on the beach, and it was neat, yes? In France. Kids got a kick out of that. There's Miss Ranger. So in all, we saw Barcelona, Nice, Nîmes, Provence, which is a beautiful little village up in the mountains. There was a castle that they toured, and unfortunately, 2 of the students weren't feeling well at that moment, so I stayed back with them on the bus, and the group was able to tour the little village where lavender grows freely, and that they make soaps in the area, and they purchased those goods while they were there. We saw, where was that? Oh, yeah. So we were in Nice, Nîmes. We went into, from there, we visited Monaco, which frankly was my favorite. Monaco was amazing. It's beautiful, very wealthy. That's where they run the, not the Indy 500, but the Grand Prix, thank you, in June. So we were able to see where that takes place.
Also, where Monte Carlo with Selena Gomez was filmed.
Oh, yeah. But hey, at least you got to see that firsthand. This was in, is this in the cathedral? In CC. Oh, yes, the CC in France. And then this is Pisa. And when we got into Italy, we were then in Pisa. That's my t-shirt here. The popular pose is to, there's our group in Pisa, where the Leaning Tower is. There we are in front of it. We don't have the fun pose where people are trying to make sure they're pushing and keeping it in place, but there's many of our kids there. We're touring. Now this is in Florence, Italy. In Florence, we were there 2 days. We saw much of the city through a walking tour, which we had headphones, and the woman guided us through the city and told us lots of interesting history. And let's just say we walked a ton. I think I lost a good 5 pounds. I'm not kidding. I seriously did. Even though we ate a lot of food, I mean, we were walking.
Couldn't feel my feet up.
No. She was one of my favorites. We did a day tour. It was about an hour outside of Florence. We took a bus ride to Siena. And if you remember burnt sienna, the Crayola crayon, that's where that color comes from because of the countryside and the color of the buildings and all that are there. And she was just a little firecracker, this woman. She was hilarious. She walked us all through the city, really high roads and streets and narrow streets that we toured with her. And she just was fun and interesting and had just a great fashion sense too. We were all in awe of her shoes. And just the people in Europe, they just dressed to the nines and just always look amazing. You know. There we are in Siena once again. Looks like we're going back to some of the originals. Our last stop was Rome, where we toured the Vatican. We also saw St. Peter's Cathedral. In addition to that, in the afternoon, we went into the Colosseum, which just blew me away. If you've read Julius Caesar, or for me, that just came to life to see that, as well as the Forum. And we ended our day in Rome there, and then with a little shopping there in the evening. And Julia, you were there too, Mom? Charity, any other students that are present or parents that wanted to add, please feel free. I got a lot of good feedback. I think the kids enjoyed it. You want to give your input? I'd Appreciate it.
Well, lasagna in Italy was pretty good. So. But no, it was a really great trip. Like I said, we did a lot of walking, but there weren't any incidents. Sometimes you'd be warned, oh, pickpocketing, like be careful. No one ever had an incident like that. Like everything was pretty good. And we were all pretty good sports about it. Like there were so many beautiful things. It was a short amount of time, but we saw so many things. So it was really incredible. And if you ever have a chance, you should go.
Number one, I'd like to thank Mrs. Smallwood. This is the third time I've traveled to Europe with Mrs. Smallwood. I'm always impressed with her organization, coordinating, and educating the students. Her attention to detail goes without saying. She kept parents informed while we were there through her mind. Prior to going, she kept students informed through her mind, getting passport copies and euros and things like that. The students that were there, 21 students, many of them I had as former first graders, so it was great to see that they've grown up and they become responsible adults. They were very well behaved. Bus times sometimes were 6:30 in the morning. We never waited for a student, ever. Sometimes it was 6:30. The meeting times were always like, you need to be here at 2 o'clock. I don't think we ever waited for a student. They got up, they were tired. They might not have been real talkative, but they got up, they were on the bus, had eaten, because that was, if you don't eat, you lose that opportunity. But I admire the way Amy speaks. If I didn't look at her and I heard her speaking, I would think it would be a native Spaniard there. I was with her very often, and we would have Spaniards say, wow, she speaks so fluently and makes me want to learn Spanish in the worst way. I also want to thank the board for granting this opportunity for these students and myself. It is obviously a trip to be remembered. The things we saw on this trip, I mean, you want to imprint them on your eyes forever because the beauty is just, you can't even imagine. Pictures do it no justice. And then it was fun, but educational. You go to the Coliseum, like she said, and you think, wow, how can this structure, it's obviously not all completely standing, but built in the year 27 and still you go and you say, how did they do this without modern technology and whatnot? So it gives a whole appreciation for what people have done. Mr. Grana Familia has taken hundreds and hundreds of years to build, still not done. No. It will be done in 2026, so anyways, if you get the opportunity to go to Europe, it's great. And again, thanks to Mrs. Wood and the board.
You did pick up some Spanish along the way. Almost. Almost Richmond. Means let's go. Andiamo.
I was never at the party, so I was always, I'll show you come on.
Alonzi. Yeah. That's all mine. Let's go.
Yeah, almost was my favorite one. So.
We had a good time. We really did. And I appreciate your allowing us to do this. And I hope Adeline had a good time. She was a great tourist. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Mrs. Smallwood and Mrs. Ranger, Mr. Rubin, I'd just like to say thank you. The opportunity provided our students, and this is the once in a lifetime for many of our students. Organizing a field trip is not easy from a staff member, but yet organizing a field trip where you're taking them across the Atlantic and to another country is probably very nerve-wracking. And just what I heard, very well organized. I echo Mrs. Ranger's comments from a parent perspective. We were well informed, knew what was going on, so thank you for providing this opportunity. And thank the board for about a year ago coming here and allowing, authorizing it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next part of our meeting is our presentation, so I'm going to turn it over to Brian.
Before I begin with our volunteer presentation, if there are any volunteers who arrived that you did not see Jamie Field, can you go back and just get their names? I want to make sure we don't forget anybody. An amazing volunteer offers the gift of time, inspires hopes and dreams, enjoys helping others, encourages teamwork, is selfless, gracious, and kind, extends a helping hand, and makes a difference. April 1st through the 5th was National School Volunteer Appreciation Week. We are truly blessed in Richmond for the number of volunteers that we have that care about our students both in the classroom and out at events, whether it's reading to their students or helping on the sidelines at a sports event. Our volunteers go above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to helping our students. They give so much of their time. Oftentimes they give financial to help our students. They're mentors to our students. They're a second mom and father, or mom and dad to our students. They're just phenomenal. So it's great pleasure that today we honor our volunteers. Just to give you a sample of how the process went, and this is our first time as a district since I've been here that we take a minute to honor our volunteers. About a month and a half ago, I sent an email out to staff and asking for individuals throughout the district who give of their time who are volunteers. And we received back 140 names of individuals who give of their time. And as I look at these names, you know, they give multiple things, whether they're in the sporting events or they're in the classroom. They're volunteering for a ton of stuff. But there are also a lot of volunteers out there who weren't on that list, so I also want to make sure that at some point in the near future that we honor them, or as we hopefully make this a tradition, we gather the next set of volunteers. So tonight, I'm going to read to you some of the volunteers that did RSVP. I won't now 140 of them, but the ones that I did RSVP, so hopefully they're here, and if they were able to come and let Jamie know if we pulled their certificate, because now they were able to come, we will get their certificate. So when I call your name, if you would please come forward and accept a small token on behalf of the board and myself for your countless efforts towards the students of Richmond. Can I ask the board to join me as I call their name, because these are members who are of our community, who are the backbone of our organization. So I will start with first Mr. Akerley. Come on out. Mrs. Akerley. Mrs. Barron. Mrs. Bergeon. Mr. Bergeon. Mr. Brockett. Mr. Carlos. Mrs. Carrick. Mrs. Christensen, Rebecca Christensen. Mrs. Clark, Nicole Clark.
Sorry, I'm not dressed up.
Mrs. Collins, Ms. Collins. Mr. Collins, Doug Collins.
Thank you.
Candace Cunningham, Mrs. Cunningham. Mrs. Fraley, Laura Fraley. Mrs. Gibbons, Christine Gibbons. Mrs. Gerard. Mrs. Nesta, Holly Nesta.
Close enough, that's good enough.
Goiki, Tricia Goiki. Mrs. Good, Bridget Good. Corey Holstetter. Amber Jackson. Courtney Kurtz. Jeanette Lebec. Donna Lyon. Ashley Marcel. Chrissy Mueller. Jennifer Northam. Angela Pasito. Judy Pietzel. John Ryan. Linda Ryan. Nicole Rose. Dana Trombley. Jennifer Williams. Dino Stepalopoulos. It's so bad. I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Eric Smallwood. Charlene LaFour. Monica Nicolopoulos. Did I miss anybody that's here? I don't think so. Let's give them one round of applause.
Okay, our next presentation is Administrative Professionals Day.
Administrative Professionals Day is celebrated on Wednesday, April 24th, which is this Wednesday. The day provides us an opportunity to recognize and celebrate the work of our secretaries, administrative assistants, and other office professionals for their contributions to the workplace. While teachers may be the backbone to the educational learning and instruction in the district, administrative professionals are the backbone to ensure the seamless operation of the district. Without these caring and dedicated individuals, our district would come to a standstill. And if you can ask any principal, they know that is a true statement from that angle. We have a lot of great people in the organization, but this is our opportunity to honor those administrative professionals. So when I call your name, if you please come forward. And there's some of them that were unable to come tonight because they had a prior commitment. So this is not only the building secretaries and the special ed, but also the individuals from the central office. Angela Blake, who's our payroll and benefits coordinator. Don't believe Angela was able to make it tonight. Pam Daly, our community liaison and public relations secretary. She's actually on vacation this week, so she's enjoying her administrative professionals day. Her husband surprised her with the trip, so. Joanne Ferrante from the high school. Joanne is one that when you call, she's always you can tell in her voice there's a smile on the other end. She may be regretting when I call, but there's always a smile on the other end. So. Judy McIntyre, who is the accounts purchasing and accounts payable. Judy makes sure the bills are paid. Yeah, which are important. Darlene McNichols, high school secretary. I don't think Darlene was able to make it. Darlene was brand new this year and has had a huge learning curve and has done wonders. She's just as an asset to the office staff and the high school staff as a general. Denise Pinsky from the elementary school. Denise, I can say, is an advocate for the district. She's always looking at ways to have individuals come to our district and highlight and so forth. She also has a great, when you call her on the phone, there's always a pleasantness, which is an important trait we need to have in our organization. Pam Prose from the elementary school. Pam is the most patient person. I don't think I have ever seen Pam get upset out. Maybe Denise has, but I don't know. She's very calm-natured. And in elementary school, you do need that trait, staying calm with elementary. Susan Rickard from the middle school was not able to attend. What I appreciate most about Susan is she comes with the experience of the background and knowledge of how things have done and what can be done in the future to make changes and improve. She knows many of our families, which is, if not all the families at the middle school. It's a key function. Candace Sutko, the special education secretary. I don't believe Candace was here. Candace is relatively new to the organization, and just the idea of working with other districts in special education and coordinating IEPs, she's an asset to have in our organization. Excuse me. Bridget Shoeboy from the middle school is also one of the secretaries. I don't believe Bridget was able to make it tonight. Bridget also is very similar with Susan in her nature, and being, when you call her on the phone, she's very kind to talk to, as well as consoling, so I appreciate that nature. And finally, my administrative assistant, Jamie Thiel, who keeps me grounded. He can come to tell me, Ryan, we can't do that oftentimes, so I appreciate his perspective. He is also one that I don't think ever gets upset on anything. That's it.
Our next presentation is on the FY20 budget presentation.
At the last board meeting, we talked about assumptions we were going to be making with the budget. And as of today, we have no new information from the state from the perspective of the House or Senate's budget. We do know what the governor's budget proposes for Richmond, which is a couple $100 increase per pupil. But it also is contingent on revenue that's raised at the state level. So with that, sorry, I'm going to take a second here to pull it up. This should look familiar to the board from the perspective of it might be a little difficult to see, but the first column we had based on enrollment, if we assume moving students up, our enrollment is down 35 FTEs. Increase that one. We assumed an average of kindergarten for the last 4 years, which equates to about 99 kindergartners that we're projecting for next year. And so when you look at these, we have 3 scenarios here, assumption 1, 2, and 3. At the last board meeting, we talked about, at this point, assuming assumption 1, which would be flat per pupil. Do I believe that when all the dust settles that the state will give us nothing? It's possible, but I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's going to be in the 11th hour. The state doesn't have to approve their budget till the end of September, October 1st, so we'll already be starting the 1920 school year, potentially without even knowing what we're going to get from the state. So my assumption or recommendation to the board was assume flat. If we assume flat, that would be the $280,000 that we would have to reduce expenses over our revenue. And down on the left side, we talked about the various ways that we could reduce those expenses to get us to zero. The one thing I do want to make a change is that last line, the investigation originally said $15,000. We budgeted $12,000 at the amendment. We did not spend $12,000. It was like $4,000 for that process. But we've been zeroing that or line item, move that out. You'll see on this we have estimated retirement costs that we know is a given that's going to increase, and we are estimating insurance over the hard cap about a 3.4%, which equates to about $40,000 for our district. So when you add the the negatives in with the positive, this is the recommendation that I would say that we could balance the budget by June 30th. So we really have 2 more board meetings, the May 13th and the June 10th, to make any adjustments to these. So as we know information from the state, if they pass a budget that we actually know the dollar amount, we can then amend our budget to reflect that. So I would leave it if there's any questions the board has about the budget or any items they would like to see or discuss further.
Brian, I just had a question about the 7 hours at the middle school. I know when we've done it before, we've talked about whether they're doing it every year, and if we are doing it again, does that all fit into what the budget is?
The assumption that we're making is that we are running the 7-period day in this budget. I just recently reached out to Mrs. Ranger about, usually they hold a vote. Usually she'll go over there with the middle school staff because it is different than the contractual language.
Right.
So I would say within the next near future, hopefully by the next board meeting, we should have an answer whether the staff are still on board with the 7-period day. I've had no indication that there isn't, but I don't want to speak for the staff because it is something that's done yearly.
Okay.
But yeah, but the assumption is on this budget that we're planning for a 7-period day.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments on the budget?
Is there any chance we could see, since I'm new, a full layout of the budget, just to see what we budgeted before and what the cuts may be?
What cuts we've made before, or are you talking the account numbers? The line item account numbers. Yep, I can bring that. I can put that in the for the next board meeting. So you have the. It will be sorted by the different function codes, and then all the account numbers and the totals for those function codes. Yes. So for that example, when you look at that supply account in function 111, when you see those account, this budget is assuming a 5% reduction in those function code supplies. So for instance, in function code 111, there's a $200 supply account that's given to, let's say, a particular grade level, first grade. If this goes through, then that would be on the final budget, would be $190 for that budget. But yeah, I'll provide that.
Any other questions? Okay.
I would just like leave this as I would recommend the listening audience. I know people, your different viewpoints, whatever political viewpoint you have, when you look at the revenue that's in this state, we have not had revenue to support not only the schools but also roads and other infrastructure. And I'm not saying the governor's proposal is the end-all and be-all, but it's a first step in prioritizing what is important in the state, which I believe is the infrastructure and the education, which is going to move us forward. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, next I'm going to turn it over to Lexi for the student representative report.
Per usual, we'll be starting off with the Lee School. April 26th is the PBIS True Blue Assembly, and this has the focus on perseverance. May 2nd is the Family Math and Game Night, which I'm sure is going to be a lot of fun, and this is from 5:30 to 6:30. May 6th starts off Teacher Appreciation Week with daily activities sponsored by administrators, student council, and the Lee PTO. The Spanish Club has a meeting May 7th, and the Student Council has a meeting May 8th. May 10th is the Senior Walk at Lee, and that concludes the Lee School. Moving on to the middle school, their PSAT testing was officially completed this past week, and the PTA met to discuss officers for the next year. Some end-of-the-year activities have begun, and they've also been preparing for the 4th grade move. And Richmond was a very successful event, and the MISD Teacher of the Year event was a great night, as always. And Memorial 5K planning is well underway. And lastly, the K-12 play High School Musical will be held this weekend in the high school auditorium, which I'm sure people have said that it's going to be a really cool thing to see. And this is going to be Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. and Sunday at 2. Lastly, for the high school, RHS students are working on their Science and Social Studies MSTEP, which helps to show off their knowledge. The BWAC and Macomb All Academic Lunch and Dinners are this week on Wednesday and Thursday. RHS is proud to send 5 students to the BWAC Luncheon to be honored for their academic achievements and 2 more as scholar athletes. The students attending the luncheon are Emily Gore, Ashley Telto, Isabella Ferranti, Jessie Melton, and Madison Rigoli.
Girls.
Is that all?
I just want to make
Yeah.
sure, is that all girls that are attending?
Yes,
Howard,
Mrs. Telto.
Howard to the women in the senior
We've
class.
had that discussion
Thank you.
several times.
I bet you have. Howard to the women.
And the 2 scholar athletes are Shannon Gaffney and Ethan Wyatt.
There you go.
There's the boy in there.
Way to represent.
2 young ladies from high school will be honored at the Macomb County All Academic Awards, and these students are being honored for a combination of their GPAs and high performance on the SAT. And these students are Emily Gore and Isabella Ferranti. A big good luck to the robotics team who will be competing at the World Championship this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Cobo and Ford Field. So good luck to them. And lastly, prom is coming up, and this will be held May 3rd.
Thank you, Lexi. You're welcome. All right, next up, we have public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to address the board, you can do so at this time. Please come to the podium, sign in, leave your name and your phone number if you do want a phone call back. It's not a question and answer period, and you do have 3 minutes to come up and speak. Okay. Okay, next, we're going to be going into closed session. Looking for a motion.
Pursuant to Section 8B of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, I move that the Board of Education go into closed session for the purposes of a student disciplinary hearing for student 042219.
Support.
Any discussion? Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote. Sarah? Oh, sorry. Kyle?
Aye.
Sherry?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Angela?
Aye.
Margaret?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay.
You have to say motion carries. for going into
Oh,
closed session.
sorry. Motion carries going into closed session. Next up, we have the superintendent and legislative updates.
Superintendent update I'll start with legislation. No news is good news, though I wish they would give us a little hint or direction from the House and the Senate's version. As far as the 4th grade update, we finalized the color for the playground equipment. Everything is on track to be installed beginning June 10th. Cabinets and everything were finalized and so forth. Just to update the board and the listening audience, on the way home today, there was a bus accident. All of our students and driver were safe. They were checked out by EMS. Nobody was injured and so forth. The bus is totaled.
Yeah.
It is, I don't even know if it was a car or truck that hit the bus, but basically the bus was going eastbound on Division. A car was in the bus's lane coming westbound, and the bus were to this and did everything it can, honk the horn and so forth. The kids and the bus driver were unbelievable. They were phenomenal when we got out to the site to look at it. I do want to give kudos to the bus driver, Mrs. Kennedy, Danielle Kennedy. EMS and police both pulled me aside while we were out there, and it said to me in some fashion that if it wasn't for her quick action in minimizing the impact, there would have been casualties. And so she was a little shaken up. She was taken to the clinic, and all the legal stuff that we have to do from drug testing and so forth by law, she's done. And I thank Mrs. Shad, who was out there, Larry, the mechanic, was out there, Lloyd Huber, the bus driver, who came out there, Susie, the dispatcher, who was back contacting parents, Mr. Koshin and Mrs. Napier, who were also contacting parents, and the administrative team. Just anything you need, they really all stepped up. It was nice to see them coming together. It was not a nice occasion, but everybody is safe. And like I said, the kids were unbelievable. In fact, there was a couple of little boys because they wouldn't let any of the kids out of the bus until they had cleared them all from the EMS perspective, and a couple of the parents that arrived out there. And there was a couple of little boys that were hanging out the windows saying, "Don't worry, Mom, Dad, I'm okay." And these are little guys to high school kids on the bus. So it ended in a good note from the perspective of that. And I do want to, again, thank Danielle Kennedy, the bus driver, who those were her babies, I think is the word she used on that bus, and took a lot of effort to make sure they were safe. So with that, month of May is coming up. Hard to believe in a couple weeks our seniors will be their last day. Graduation's coming up around the corner, and so forth. As of right now, it's anticipated that the law will pass that we do not have to make up the snow days. So once it's official, I will put a communication out to the organization as well as to parents that our schedule will remain the same.
That's one good thing the legislature did.
That is true.
Right?
That is true.
Kudos.
So with that, that's all I have.
Okay. Next up, we have the items of interest from the board. Is there anyone who would like to speak?
I just want to say I attended the Teacher of the Year banquet. Sherry was there as well. That is a great banquet. It is nice to be able to sit there with our teachers that are recognized and those that are fortunate to have their parents there with them celebrating, or their children. It's just a really good event, and want to thank Brian for all of the work that he does. He's now the president of the Superintendent Association, MCASA, whatever that stuff is called, but he is responsible for getting all of that together, getting that banquet to run properly, and he makes Richmond look good in the process. So thank you, Brian.
Anyone else? Okay. Next up, we have our action items. The first one is the Macomb Intermediate School District FY20 budget. Mr. Wamsley?
At the last board meeting, Mrs. Placido presented the FY20 budget. She represented the board. I did not receive any comments that the board had wanted to make comments regarding the budget. So the resolution that's attached is in support of the fiscal year budget for the ISD for next year without comments. So with that, I'll be looking for a motion to approve it.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the attached resolution in support of the Macomb Intermediate School District fiscal year 2020 budget as presented in the attached documentation.
Support.
Any discussion?
Yes, I will be abstaining. I'm an employee of the ISD and therefore benefit from the budget.
And although he's not at the discussion at the last meeting, I did review the YouTube video and did watch the presentation.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So we will formalize.
Motion carries.
You have to ask me to abstain.
Oh, I'm sorry. Margaret, do you abstain?
Yes.
Okay, thank
And
you.
you have to note that.
I did, yes. Margaret abstained. Okay, motion carries. Next up, we have the desktop computer purchase.
As part of the last remaining bond, we are looking at replacing computers, 146 computers, I believe. Some of it is shifting computers to put newer computers where in classrooms and media centers that are in need, and some of it's moving computers to labs that are secondary labs. So in your packet, you'll see the background on the computers. It totals to approximately $87,800, $850-ish. You'll see where the locations of those computers will be. The computers that are currently in Mrs. Campos' classroom will actually get moved to they're relatively newer, so they'll get moved to the third lab at the middle school. So Mrs. Campos' class will get the newer computers, which I believe are more of a higher performance computer. We're looking to purchase. Part of the reason is there is a shortage, Mr. Ruan, on the Intel.
Oh yes, there's I've been notified by our vendor that there's Intel's got a backlog on the Gen 8 processor, so we're about 8 to 12 weeks out on getting these.
So they will be arriving at during the summer, close to the start of the school year.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
How do you pronounce that company? CIS. I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the purchase of 146 desktop computers from C-High Computer Products, Inc. for an amount not to exceed $87,846.74, plus shipping and handling, for which funding from the 2013 voter-approved bond is authorized as outlined in the attached documentation.
Support.
Any discussion? Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Sherry?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Angela?
Aye.
Margaret?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries. All right, and our last item is the student discipline hearing resolution for student 042219. Looking for a motion.
Did you give anybody the paperwork?
Copy here, so we'd like a copy. Here's a statement.
I motion that following a closed session hearing, the board votes to reinstate student 042219 consistent with the attached resolution.
Support.
Any discussion? Okay, I will do a roll call. Angela?
Aye.
Margaret?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Sherry?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries. And the meeting is adjourned at 9:13 p.m.